Hello, YouTubes! Welcome back to James Recommends. This is 4th of July weekend, and it's my birthday, and so I'm taking a day off, and I've got a little bit more time to record one of these. So hopefully I'll get to turn out a little bit better tape for you guys. I know that many of you who have joined the series recently have talked about the fact that this isn't of the same production value that you're used to on YouTube, or that you see even on extra credits, right? And that's true. I wish it was. I know as an entertainer it could be more engaging, but it's what I got the time for, right? I work 7 days a week. I work about 10 hours a day, and this is what I get to do with my free time because it's what I want to do, right? I love hanging out and talking about games, but if it were up to me, I'd just be sitting here drinking tea, chatting with you guys because if you want me to see me with more energy, watch me on the stream sometime. Watch me when I'm giving a speech at one of these conventions. But here, what you're going to get is what I have to give. And most of these things are recorded at 3 a.m. on the wonkiest tech ever. The first episode, I was holding the mic between my knees. The first episode, we had good sound because I didn't have any mic stand. And so that's sort of what this is, right? It's one take and done. There's no script. There's no edits. You see all these other YouTube series and they're chopped up and cut together and people have taken a million takes. That's not this. I got 15 minutes for you a week to try and get something out. So that's what it's going to be. And with that, let's get to the games. Today we're going to talk about Kingsfield, the ancient city. This game, man, if you like Dark Souls or Demon Souls or even things like Dragon's Dogma, right? Kingsfield was what From Software did before they created the whole Dark Souls line of games. And for years, I have been telling people how great this game was and how much I love this game. And people kept telling me, James, hey, that game, it's too hard. It'll never catch on. So I feel a little bit vindicated. But it's an old game, right? It's a PS2 game, and it shows some of the evolution that happened in From Software as they started to understand better what they were doing and how to make their games more approachable. Kingsfield is a very interesting game, right? What's unique about it is that it's from a first-person perspective, and that may not sound like much, right? But if you think about Dark Souls, right, and you take it and you bring it back to first-person play, it totally changes the experience. So what we've got here is a game that has an immense level of Dark Souls challenge. But you know how in Dark Souls, sometimes you walk into an area and you'll spring a trap and you'll die, and you have no idea what sprung that trap. You just know that next time you enter that area, you can't walk in that particular place, or trap will be sprung and you'll die. What's really interesting about bringing it to first person is that everything's so much closer up that they're able to put in a lot more subtle clues to tell you what's happening. In Dark Souls and Demon Souls, if I found a secret, I almost never found one except by accident, by chance, right? They do some really good level design in their places, but the hidden walls or whatever were remarkably hard to have any idea where they were going to be. But in Kingsfield, because you're so much closer, right, I can look at this wall and there might be one discolored brick. And because we've got that first-person perspective, I can see it. I can see it in a way that there's just no way when I'm in that removed third-person camera. And they do a lot with this, right? Traps are the same way. It was really funny. There's something at the beginning which I think you guys will get a kick out of, which I won't spoil. A video might, but I had one of my classes play this game, and it amused me immensely as a random factoid that as they played, like probably 85% of the guys died within the first 30 seconds of play, and like only 20% of the women who played. But this game, it is like that, right? Totally unforgiving in the Dark Souls style of play, but with a lot more agency for the player, a lot more opportunity for you to observe your actions, right? They give lots of clues. You're walking along and you hear some skeletons and you look around, but you don't see any. And as you start walking closer to this wall, you hear them louder and louder, right? And that tells you, behind this wall, maybe this is a secret wall, right? And you open up the wall and there's a bunch of skeletons there, and then there's treasure behind them. That's the sort of moment you get in this game that you can only deliver in this first-person perspective where you being the character rather than you operating the character means that all your senses are operating from your perspective, which allows you to do a lot more in sort of understanding your environment. So that's what's just awesome about this game, what's unique about this game. I really like it. I prefer that sort of D&D trap-heavy dungeon feel to some of the hack and slash, and they do it really well here. There are challenges aplenty, which, like Dark Souls, at times will have you gritting your teeth. But overall, I actually find this to be a more fair game than most of the Dark Souls, Demon Souls series. So that's what I really like about it, what's great about it. What's rough is that if you came to Dark Souls and Demon Souls for that super refined combat that they provide you with, that's not what you're getting here. This is earlier in the evolution of the company and the designers, and more importantly, from a first-person perspective, right? We've never really had a first-person melee game that really executes well on that style of gameplay, that makes the combat as fluid as a lot of our third-person games. And it's a Dark Souls, Demon Souls games, and now imagine Dark Souls, but your perspective is limited to about this vision cone, right? You can't see the things behind them. We might be able to hear them, but you can't see what's behind you. This creates a number of terrifying moments where you just take damage out of nowhere because you didn't realize something was sneaking up on you. But if what you really liked about Dark Souls was the fluidity of the combat, that's just not what you're getting here, right? A lot of the combat really resolves strategy, and it resolves down to managing enemy aggro, right? Figuring out what their aggro radius is, pulling them in the proper ways, and to sort of kiting or strafing around enemies. So the combat is substantially weaker. That said, it's still got all that Dark Souls, Demon Souls world building. It's this beautiful, lonely place. The music's fantastic. And if you're looking for an experience like that, if you want to see where the ideas for Dark Souls came from, if you want to see the evolution of this, and if you've always wanted Dark Souls to feel a little bit more like D&D, right? This is a game that really has that element. This is these dungeons, real dungeons, right? And what's fantastic is there's a search button, right? But being a Dark Souls, Demon Souls game, and having the ability to give you clues as to what's right and what's not, you search the wrong thing. A lot of times they'll just put traps in the walls where if you're just pressing the button randomly, you'll just die, right? They really want you to, as designers, they really want you to figure out, and they have the capacity in this instance to allow you to figure out where all the secrets and hidden passageways are. And so that was something I really enjoyed. So this week, if you can find it, since it's an old PS2 game, James recommends Kingsfield, the Ancient City. See y'all next week.